Okay, think about this for a second. Are you someone who feels, totally on top of things, efficient, respected, loads of energy for what matters? Or maybe, does this sound more familiar? Feeling constantly swamped, saying yes all the time, stretched thin, drained, while your own stuff just waits. I think for a lot of us, it's probably closer to that second one right now, then. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the art of saying no, protecting your time and energy. We've looked at a whole bunch of material on this, really trying to pull out the most useful bits for you.
Yeah, our goal here is to get under the skin of why saying no can feel, well, almost impossible sometimes. We want to look at the psychology behind it, but also, crucially, give you some real practical ways to actually do it and understand why this skill is just so vital for protecting, your most limited resources, time and energy. It's kind of like a strategic move for your own life.
Okay, so let's dig into that main idea. The thing that really stood out from everything we looked at is this: saying no. It isn't really about rejecting someone else. It's actually fundamentally about self-preservation. It sounds strong, but it's true. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't really align with you, you're kind of implicitly saying no to your own priorities, to your health, your peace of mind. Your energy isn't endless.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how this connects to something broader, this idea of empowerment through boundaries. The sources we reviewed really stress that this isn't just some vague philosophy. It's a very practical, strategic way to approach life.
Mm.
Setting those boundaries, using that no, it's not selfish. It's about being smart with where you invest your most valuable assets, making sure you've got enough left for what really counts.
Right. But if it's so smart and strategic, why is it often so incredibly hard? Why does it feel like such a battle? I mean, when you think about it yourself, do any of those sort of emotional hurdles ring a bell?
And that's where the psychology comes in. Our review pointed to some really common, deep-seated reasons. First off, there's this big one, the fear of conflict. And it's not always about a big argument. Sometimes it's just that low-level anxiety about, rocking the boat or damaging a relationship.
Yeah, I can see that.
Then there's the fear of disappointing others. We don't want to let people down. And that often links to a desire for approval, right? We sort of overestimate how much people are actually judging us. It's that spotlight effect psychologists talk about.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, just plain old guilt or social conditioning. Maybe you're raised to believe helpful means never refusing. Or that feeling you owe someone a yes if they did you a tiny favor. That's called reciprocity bias.
Those are definitely powerful forces. But, for someone who's maybe been a people pleaser their whole life, just knowing why isn't always enough, is it? Like, how hard is it really to break those habits? What did the sources say about maybe the first tiny step someone could take towards being, well, more assertive?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
Because recognition is just step one, right? The sources are clear. The real change comes from small, consistent actions. And one key thing is understanding assertiveness. It's not about being pushy or aggressive. It's finding that sweet spot, that middle ground between being aggressive and just being passive. And the first step often is just pausing, taking a breath before you automatically say yes. We'll talk more about delaying the response later, but that tiny pause can be huge.
That makes sense. Just create a little space. Okay, so knowing the why and the what, let's get practical. What are the actual strategies? What's the roadmap our review uncovered? The first big one that came up again and again, you hear it all the time, but it really hit home, is this idea: you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And it's more than just a saying. It's backed up by what we know about well-being and performance. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish. It's actually essential if you want to show up properly for anything or anyone else. Our deep dive showed that when you're running on empty, it's not just that you're tired. The sources point to things like less mental flexibility, poor decision-making. You're less proactive. So even when you do manage to say yes, you're actually less effective overall.
Wow. Less effective, not just less energetic. That's a key distinction.
No.
Okay, building on that, another big theme was the power of a polite no. We often feel we need to give this long explanation, right? Or apologize profusely. But the sources suggest maybe less is more.
Absolutely. Simplicity and firmness are your friends here. You don't need a 5-minute justification. Something clear and direct works wonders. Like, I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm just not available right now.
Simple.
Or, thanks, but that doesn't quite align with my priorities at the moment. It's polite, it's firm, and it doesn't invite negotiation. Respects everyone's time.
Okay, I like that. Firm but polite. But what about when you're caught off guard? Put on the spot. Our review highlighted a really useful tactic for that: delay the response. How does buying time help?
Oh, it's incredibly powerful, though it sounds simple. Just saying something like, let me check my calendar and get back to you, or
Yeah.
I need to think about that, can I let you know?
Yeah.
It does two things. One, it stops that immediate knee-jerk yes, driven by social pressure or that feeling of obligation we mentioned. And two, it gives you actual space to step back, look at your commitments, and decide if it's a genuine yes based on your capacity and priorities, away from the pressure of the moment.
Yeah, that pause again, it seems crucial. Okay, and talking about priorities, another key strategy was establish non-negotiables.
Right. And this ties everything together. If you proactively decide what your absolute boundaries are like, specific work hours, family dinner time, maybe an hour for focused work each morning, it makes saying no to things that clash with those boundaries so much easier. The decision is almost pre-made.
Like drawing a line in the sand.
Exactly. You know it's off limits. And interestingly, the sources suggest that when you do this consistently, people actually start to respect your time more, not less. It signals that your time is valuable.
That's counterintuitive, but makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, lastly, there's one that's often working away under the surface, and it can be a tough one. Recognize people-pleasing patterns. I think many of us can relate to this one.
Oh, definitely. That tendency to overexpand, to say yes just because you want to be liked or you want approval or you hate the thought of someone being unhappy with you,
Yeah.
it's very common. The sources really emphasize that realizing this pattern is the first step. The next, much harder step is consciously trying to let go of that need for constant external validation. It's a massive step towards self-respect, understanding your worth isn't tied to how much you do for others.
That's powerful. But let's be real. While saying no sounds simple on paper, actually doing it can feel, well, really difficult. Especially if you're in a job or a culture that seems to reward always being available, always sacrificing. This isn't easy, is it? It takes guts.
No, it's definitely not a quick fix. The real work is in the practice, and honestly, in dealing with the discomfort that often comes with it. You might feel that guilt we talked about, bubbling up strongly. Or you might get actual pushback from people who are used to your automatic yes. They might even feel a bit entitled to your time.
Yeah, that can happen.
And that fear of being seen as selfish or not a team player, that's a big hurdle for many. The sources suggest things like having prepared scripts can help, or even doing little role-playing exercises, maybe just in your head. Because it's one thing to know what to say, but it's another to actually say it and then navigate the feelings or reactions that might follow. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. It's a skill you build over time. So thinking about all this, who really stands to benefit most from mastering this art of saying no? You might be listening and thinking, okay, this is definitely speaking to me.
Yeah, let's pinpoint that. Where do you fit in? Our review really highlighted a few groups. It's obviously huge for people pleasers and overthinkers, folks who tend to say yes and then worry about it endlessly. It's critical for burnt-out professionals. If you're feeling overwhelmed, this is a direct path to reclaiming some energy and focus.
Makes sense.
Also, parents, caregivers, educators, anyone in a role that demands a lot of giving. Setting boundaries is crucial for sustainability and just being present. And definitely entrepreneurs and creatives. Guarding your time and mental space is non-negotiable for doing deep, focused work. But really, it's for anyone who wants to feel more in control, more resilient, and just clearer about where their life is heading.
You know, listening to all this, it really drives home that this isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It feels more like a survival skill, almost, in today's world. Being constantly connected, constantly asked for things, learning to say no effectively seems essential for well-being, for actually getting things done, and for finding some inner peace. It helps you shift from being reactive to being proactive.
Absolutely. So maybe here's a thought to leave you with as you process all this. What's just one small thing, one small request or commitment that you could politely say no to this week, even if it feels a bit awkward? And then think about how that small no might open up space for a bigger yes, a yes to something that truly matters to you, that aligns with your priorities, that actually energizes you. Imagine practicing that consistently. How could that shift how you manage your most precious resources, your time and your energy?